Alright guys, welcome to part 2 of wrapping up the TRD Pro here in the Matte Ice Titanium Amber from KPMF. The goal for today is to the entire front end done. Now I would say on this entire truck, this upper corner right here is probably the most time consuming portion of the entire truck to actually wrap. It's so round up here, it's not hard. It's just the most technical part, pretty much. But yeah, so it's super angular, and then an inlay goes right here, and an inlay goes right here, which is a separate piece to make sure we don't overstretch the material. And then a separate piece goes right here as well because that dip is so deep right there. And then we'll get the grill surround done, and this thing will be all done in the front end. Can't wait to see it with the camo fender flares back on there and the TRD Pro hood badge with the Pro lettering in red on this amber. I can already see how the springs in red look really nice next to the amber color, so it's gonna look absolutely insane, dude. Alrighty, so got the panel all wiped down now, the fender flare has been removed, and I laid down some masking tape here on the headlight. You guys were asking for some tips. That's one tip right there, is to lay down some masking tape anywhere you don't want the wrap sticking to, because masking tape creates a low tack point for the film to glide off of. So I put it here on the A-pillar and the headlight so we can then glide the wrap off this headlight and then tuck it into that gap and then do our cuts, and that's your first lesson of the day. So let's cut some film and get right to it. As you guys can see, we got all the lines going pretty much for the most part parallel to the longest part of the panel. So since it's wider than it is taller, I wanted all my stretch to go left to right. So now I can pick the wrap up from the top or the bottom and get rid of those wrinkles like that. Over here as well. Alrighty, so I'm about to lay down some wrap here on the bumper corner, and I popped off this part of the mustache grill surround. Just kind of make it easier to push the wrap off the edge there and then cut it right on the edge. What I'm gonna do is lay one piece here on the whole bumper corner into this recess right here, laying down some of, you guys remember the knifeless cutting tape. So we'll lay this down first and then wrap over this string right here. Okay. Wow, that's what I'm talking about right there. But I'm gonna take this stuff right here. It's pretty much like a string with some tape on top of it that you lay down on your panel, wrap over it, and you pull the string and it cuts through the wrap without using a blade on the actual paint. So I'll throw it right in there and then do a separate piece up here and flap the wrap on top of our cut. There's a separate piece right here and here as well, because my main philosophy when it comes to wrapping is I never want to overstretch anything. So being that there's a nice line right here, we can seam the wrap right there and it's pretty much invisible. And that way we're not overstretching the material into the this little area right here, because overstretched material doesn't last very long normally, and I'm all about longevity, so. Dude, it's so cool to see all the panels start to come together, and I didn't do everything. I didn't put the hood badges back on or the fender flares. I want to leave something for the element of surprise. That was for sure the most time-consuming part of what the entire truck will take, because everything else is pretty flat. It's a matter of just kind of getting everything ready for the wrap. But fender flares come off pretty simple. Door handles come off relatively simple, and the mirrors and stuff like that, window trims too. But as far as the wrapping goes on the side of the truck there and the rear side, the bumpers are kind of intricate because they're cornered. But yeah, everything else is flat. That being said though, the front part is the most time-consuming portion without a doubt. But yeah, I got that out of the way. It took the remainder of the day and night yesterday, but got it all done, got the hard part out of the way, and now we are moving and grooving on to the rest of the truck. I think today what I'll do is probably the bedsides, and then maybe one bedside and one bumper corner and the tailgate maybe, or something like that. I'm not too sure. More to come on that. First things first, I need some food, dude. Chick-fil-A is calling my name right now because I have not eaten all day. But then we'll get right to wrapping up more of this truck, dude. But I cannot stop looking at it, dude. Oh my gosh. Now, I have received quite a few weird stares and traffic on the way just from home to this parking structure right here, which I have been liking a lot lately because lighting is so good here. The light deflects off the ground. It's a great place for some photo and video. But a lot of people in traffic just from home to right here have looked at me pretty sideways, probably thinking one of two things. Either, you know, they know it's a wrap and they see I've only wrapped the front clip and they're thinking to themselves, wow, it's a pretty cool color, or they think I wrecked the front end and I replaced the whole front clip with amber painted parts from another Tundra. So if you don't know, you don't know, but if you know, you know. This here is a vinyl wrap, and I'm loving this color, dude. Hands down my favorite color I've ever done on my own trucks and whatnot. Very, very similar look, at least on the roll, to the color I did on my 2019 Silverado, the satin flip volcanic flare from 3M. Definitely had that vibe when it was on the roll, but now that it's on the truck and some panels have been done, definitely showing its true amber form. But dude, overall, man, I can't get over how sick this color is. So anyways, let's get home, grab some Chick-fil-A first. I can't speak properly because I have not eaten since at all today. So yesterday, it's already 3 o'clock. And Chick-fil-A's calling my name, so let's grab some food so we can talk properly, get home, get to work. Let's roll. Alrighty, bedside's all prepped and my wrap's cut for the bedside. Laid the Mathis cut and tape here on the edge of the bedside. I'll get it done like, I'd imagine 10 minutes. Challenge on. The challenge is on. 10 minutes, let's go. How satisfying is that right there? Alright guys, it is a brand new day, and now what I'm gonna do is this bumper corner right here, which isn't super difficult, but it's not super easy either because it is pretty curved going this way and it does curve going that way as well. So what we're gonna do is follow the spotting line right here with the stretch and then disperse from there and wrap around a parking sensor right there as well, making sure that we don't overstretch anything. And that'll be pretty much it for this bumper. Throw an inlay up here on top. All right, so threw some tape down here on the parking sensor so we can create a low tack point for the wrap to slide off of. So let's grab some material and get to wrapping up this bumper and then cut around the parking sensor. That's pretty much it. Let's do it. So it's looking to me like we put a little too much stretch on this upper area right here. And we can tell that by throwing some heat at it, seeing the wrinkles form. So you can see right there, it's gonna shrink back on us on the panel. So I'm gonna lift it up and pull the wrap back a little bit further and then evenly distribute that stretch over a wider area. And that way not all the stretch is in one little area. most satisfying part, the knifeless cutting tape. Bam, look at that. Part of the reason too why I throw tape on areas I don't want the wrap to be on is because I can also cut on it and create a nice relief cut to where I can then push the film right up on the parking sensor and get a good clean cut. Time to post heat it, not a step to overlook, that's for sure. So take the surface up to 185 degrees to kill the old memory. See where we're at, and perfect. Now allow me to demonstrate what happens when you don't post heat the wrap after it's been stretched around something like a bumper. Wrap does have a memory to it, right? So what that means is once it gets some sun, gets a little bit of heat, after a couple of hours, the wrap wants to shrink back to its original form because wrap does have memory. So to counter that, you need to give it a post heat to give the wrap a new memory, and so it doesn't shrink back to its original form once it's been sat in the sun for a little while. So let me show you guys what happens when you don't do that. We'll give her just a little bit of heat now. Now let's stretch it like we're doing a bumper. All right, so now it's been nice and stretched. You guys can see it's pretty tight here. So we'll give it some heat and it shrank right back to its original form. So that's why post heat is very important. Let's give it some heat and see how far we can stretch it until it disintegrates. Okay, it got really thin right there. It's about to snap. Another reason why I don't like to overstretch material and use inlays as much as I possibly can is because now we have super thin material, right? Which means it's not gonna be as thick as it would if you didn't stretch it, obviously, so it's more prone to damage. So it's a lot thinner now. It can get chipped easier, it can get scratched easier, and now it has a lot less adhesive. Probably could stretch the material into this if I wanted to, but it would require a lot of overstretching, and we already have enough overstretching going on. Going around this bend right here. And the last thing I want to do is stretch it even more into this area right here and then have to use adhesive promoters, which is basically a glue for vinyl wrap. Especially if we have a body line to hide the seam on, then it's even more ideal to use a inlay instead of stretching in the material and trying to flex pretty much. So I don't know what it is, but there's a huge stigma in the wrap world or an ego or something that it's bad to do inlays and it's a huge flex to do everything in one piece when that's not a flex whatsoever. I mean, stretching material, to the point of it being this thin is not a flex whatsoever. I don't think that's the way to do it at all. I think longevity is the #1 goal with me, and especially when you have body lines to hide the seams on. I think inlays are the best thing you can ever do, and I'm so tired of hearing vinyl wrap shops say, oh, we did the whole thing in one piece. Dude, that's not a flex whatsoever. All you're doing is compromising the integrity of the wrap. So sure, to all the vinyl wrap shops that want to do, I guess, this bumper here in one piece and overstretch the overstretched already material into this area right here, have at it, I guess, go for it. But if I flick the wrap with my fingertip, it's gonna chip it, or it's gonna shrink back in maybe not a couple of days or a couple of hours, maybe a week or two. It's gonna fail eventually. Longevity is the absolute key for me when it comes to vinyl wrapping, especially on body lines like this where you can hide the seam perfectly. It is not a flex to do everything in one piece. And also too, I've gotten a comment or two in the past asking why I don't remove everything. I only remove what's absolutely necessary because I don't feel like removing everything is necessary at all. I've heard wrap shops also say things like, oh, we do it the right way and remove all the parts. You don't have to do that at all. Cut it and you tuck it. Look how clean that is. Maybe if the car or the truck is white and you have to pull it back a little bit further, but at that point, I mean, sure, maybe pull the panel back a little bit to get a better tuck, but if you know what you're doing and you cut it high enough, you can tuck it in there far enough and wrap it around each panel to where you don't see any of the stock color. I think it's necessary to remove all the panels at all. I feel like if it's more work than it is results, then why waste time? So anyways, that's my rant. Alrighty, so the bedside got done here on the passenger side and the rear bumper corner and the tailgate. That looks absolutely insane. I know I've said it before and I'll say it again, dude. The satin finish makes everything come out, or the matte finish, I mean. It makes all the lines come out like crazy. Bumper line right here. You guys couldn't see that too much when the truck wasn't wrapped yet. And then same with that line right there and the recessed lettering right there. Anyways, I want to address something that I feel like is a really common thing in the wrap industry. Talking smack on doing inlays, for one, it's a huge flex from a lot of guys that wrap and shops in general, that doing inlays is like the wrong way to do it, right? So bring it in. You guys saw I did the inlay right here, right? And also in the front too. So come to the front actually. So right here is an inlay. And as you guys can see, utilizing that body line right there, you know, it's pretty much an invisible seam. I'm a huge fan of doing inlays. I think they're very important, and a lot of wrap shops disagree, and these big egos talking about, oh, I did it in one piece. I think that's a terrible thing to do in most scenarios, at least, because you're overstretching the material. Let's say I used the same material for this whole bumper corner and then put it into this area right here, right? I'm already stretching the material around this bumper corner right here, this round area, and then stretching it more into that area. Yes, I could do it and use some, you know, adhesive promoters, and I could make it work and, you know, feel all cool that I did the whole thing in one piece. There's so many politics when it comes to vinyl wrapping. It's one of those industries that, like, for one, no wrap shops get along for some reason. There's no friends in the industry. Everyone's against each other and picking all their work apart. It's just a weird thing. It's a weird industry to be a part of, but there's a lot of politics when it comes to vinyl wrapping, and a big one is using inlays. And I think it's the best thing you can do is to use inlays to make sure the wrap isn't overstretched and all thin. And think about it too, when you stretch the material out, you're spreading out the adhesive too, so it's not bonding the way it normally would if you didn't overstretch your material. If you can do an inlay right, it'll look super clean and you'll have the longest lasting wrap as you possibly can get. Inlay right here as well, as you guys have seen, and it looks awesome. Now, I had some guy blow my comments up on the Instagram a little while ago. He goes, why are you not taking the car apart and doing it like a pro? Why aren't you taking apart all of the fenders, which I did. He's not paying full attention if he doesn't think I took the fenders off, which I did. But he's like, why are you not taking apart all the plastics and doing more prep essentially? And the simple answer is you don't need to. I don't know who sold them on this lie that, like, you need to take everything off the truck first. In general, like I've done with all my trucks, I do a seam right here, right back there, to where it's fully covered, looking at the truck from the outside of the truck. Like, everything is fully covered, and that's the main goal. I don't need to take off everything. I do take off most things, like, you know, the taillights here, because it's two 10mm bolts and it pops right out, so it's a lot easier to remove the taillight to make my job easier to get the wrap behind the taillight. But to take the bumpers off is not necessary one bit. I mean, bring it in. You guys can see right here, up close and personal. You don't need to remove the bumper to get a good, clean, tucked in job. All you gotta do is use some masking tape, like I always use on this part, cut it on the bedside, and then just cut enough to where you can tuck it into that all the way around the bumper. Now, this guy in the comments was talking about, oh, you know, you gotta remove the headlights to, you know, get the full wraparound job. Let's show him what time it is really quick. So I use tape to mask off the tail of the headlight, right? As you guys just seen, I use some masking tape here on the headlight, and then I cut on the masking tape and then tuck it in enough to where it's fully covered on the fender here, and you don't see any of the actual paint. Shout out to Mr. We ain't gonna say his name because I don't want the comments blowing him up.
Yeah.
So we'll spare him that. But homeboy thought he knows everything about wrap. He knows literally nothing. He's probably never touched wrap in his life. Someone sold him on needing to take his headlights off to do a proper wrap job. There's no way. He said no way. There was no way you can do a proper wrap job without removing the headlights. Everything I've done is super clean.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I don't know, bro. I don't know who sold you on having to remove your headlights on your Porsche, but you've been lied to. And maybe that's why they're charging you 5-10 grand for a wrap, because they're like, we have to remove your headlights and all that.
Yeah.
So pay more if you want, dude, but the job's the same.
He wants to pay more.
Pay all you want, but the job's done the exact same way. So anyways, to conclude what I'm talking about, the two things I wanted to address was using inlays and not taking parts off of the truck before I wrap it. I remove things that are necessary to remove. I don't have to remove certain things, but if it's easy enough to, like the fender flares, like removing the fender flares, for example. If I didn't remove the fender flares, it would have made it a lot more time consuming than the amount of time it would take me to actually remove this fender flare, which is just a couple of bolts, and it pops right off, and I'm able to get behind the fender flare. If I left it on though, I'd have to work around it, cut it on the fender flare, and then tuck it behind the fender flare. It takes more time than actually removing the whole fender flare. So for the sake of time, I just remove the fender flare. Like, that's super easy. Along with the taillights, it's 2 bolts, it's off, and I can get a nice job done with it off the same way I could with it on. It would just take more time than it takes for me to remove the taillight. So door handles, right? For sure. You have to remove door handles to get behind the door handle. There's no way, at least that I can think of, to get a clean job. In short, you don't need to remove every single thing off the truck, and inlays are a very good thing, despite what all of the other wrap installers want to say. So huge shout out to everyone in the wrap industry who thinks that you can't do inlays and you have to remove everything off of the truck before wrapping it. Shout out to all you guys in the industry. I think you're so cool because you do all that extra stuff that is not necessary. Shout out to our guy on Instagram too. You seem to know a lot about final wrap. You've probably never touched wrap a day in your life. You're probably that guy who pays someone to do it and then hovers over their shoulder the entire time. You're that guy. I know you are. I know you are, but shout out to you. Sounds like you have a lot of experience wrapping nothing pretty much, but hey, it's all good. One day you'll stop getting sold on a lie, I'm sure. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys for today. As always, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys soon. Till then, peace.